All right, man. I got a lot of updates, man. A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. We had our first pre-order. Oh, it's tough. It's a lot of fun. There's always a lot of learnings I think to do.
Hmm.
Um, it was a lot better than the last time. Granted, we had to make three times as much as what we made last time. Um, Man, where do I start? So basically Friday we were like, okay, 2 days. We had like a list of prep things that we were gonna do 2 days before, and then we had a list of things that we are gonna do the day before, and then obviously the day of. We got through most of it. We did run into some hiccups with like delivery issues, and so we ended up getting some things a little bit too late, so we couldn't use them, which is unfortunate, but we're gonna use them moving forward. Um, there's like some small things like the stickers that we ordered didn't come in time. The sidewalk sign didn't come in time. We ended up having to change our pickup location because the NASCAR race is happening here, and so they've blocked off all the roads. So
Oh.
we can't actually get to where we needed to go. So like me and Jimmy had a mild panic attack 2 days before. And then we ended up switching it up. And then everybody found out and everybody picked it up, which was good. Most of them were our friends, which I think was helpful because in their minds, right, it gave us a little bit of leniency. Not like we didn't treat it as such, but like we were late by like 15 minutes to the pickup site. Our eggs ended up taking way too long.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's the story of our life here with the eggs. Because each one of them requires one of us to do it manually. So then the amount of time that it takes is like we basically make one every like 2 minutes. And then
Oh.
because of that, then like we are always limited in our capacity to make eggs. And so I think one of the things we're considering is, especially as the weather gets hotter, I think we're going to start transporting our kimbap like cold, right? It's not going to be like super, super like refrigerated, but like we need to deliver it cold so it doesn't go bad.
Hmm.
So if we're going to keep it cold anyway, we might as well just make the eggs a few hours before, like the night before, and then just make it cold anyway.
Hmm.
The other alternative is to cook it and then like cook it on a griddle so you can mass produce it instead of using one pan. Like maybe you can use like a bigger griddle and then you
Hmm.
can make multiple at once and cut it to the size that you need.
Hmm.
Those are a couple things of the things that we're considering just because it just takes so long. Like it's just not scalable.
Hmm.
So we just have to figure out what we have to do. It is really good. The egg is probably the best part of the kimbap, but like we just have to figure that out. We ended up, so me and Jimmy booked the kitchen, the shared kitchen from 4 in the morning, but we were originally supposed to get started at 4, right? That means we have to pack all our stuff. We have to get all our stuff over there and be over there and be set up by 4. It didn't happen. Now we know, right? Like we were like we're gonna leave at 3:30, and then hopefully that was gonna be enough time. But we underestimated the time that would take for us to bring all our stuff down and load it in the car, unload it from the car, and then go in the shared kitchen and then set up the kitchen. And so we ended up starting at like 5 a.m. instead of the 4 a.m. that we had initially planned, which actually set us back quite a bit. At the
Hmm.
beginning, things are sort of like pretty chill because like you're like, okay, there's a lot of stuff you can do. But then towards the end, once it gets to crunch time, it's like everything goes out the window. You just do whatever. At the bottom line is we basically got we delivered on what we promised, except we forgot the pickled radish at the shared kitchen. So like we had one team member going back and get it, but then by the time they went and got it back, it was already like 12:50. So like basically no one got the pickled radish, which I like spent the night before making.
Oh, like the ones you put it in the.
The sides, yeah, in our story. Uh,
Oh.
so like those are little things of just like we when it gets to that crunch time and we're not ready, like we end up forgetting things.
Hmm.
It's we were very grateful we did not forget anybody's order because that would be very different.
Hmm.
Actually, a lot of people like out of the 40 or so people that we served, probably about 10 of them were people we didn't know, and about 30 were people that like we did know, which was really nice to see
Wow.
them. Um, but yeah, it's always a pattern. It's like the first time's a disaster. The second time is much, much better, but we're still not quite there yet. And then usually by the third or fourth time, we're like, okay, we sort of have the hang of this. Because
Hmm.
when we make things at home, we sort of know our timelines. We sort of know how long it takes. So like we can make stuff at home probably a little bit more efficiently than we can make it at the shared kitchen.
Hmm.
But there's just like a ramp up. There's like a learning curve to using the shared kitchen and figuring out what's most optimal there. And so that's just what's taking us a long time. And there's nothing we can do about that except just go there and make it more.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Wow.
that's what we'll be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you? Amanda, would you be able to expand on like what goes on in the kitchen? Is it just you two working on the food? Is it like a
Yeah.
separation between some people?
No, so we actually have a lot of friends helping us out. So like we had two people help us out the first time last week. That was an utter disaster. We felt very bad about asking them again, but like one of them ended up calling us again, so like he helped out, but the other person we were just like you can rest.
Yeah.
This week we had two other people help out,
Hmm.
and then we had another one. So we had three total people help out. But one had to leave early, and like he came a little bit later.
Hmm.
So all in all, me and Jimmy started at 4 a.m. We had another person come in at about 7. We had another person come in at about 8, and
Hmm.
then another person come in at about 8:30.
Hmm.
So most of it was done by me and Jimmy. Usually what ends up happening is at the very beginning, there's some things that we just have to do as a collective. So like Jimmy usually makes the rice because
Hmm.
it make it to scale. Um, I usually start prepping some of the other ingredients, and namely, it's always the eggs. Like we have to get started on the eggs pretty early, so I get started on that. So like we crack this time was like 150 eggs, I think. So I crack all those, we strain it, we season it. In the meantime, Jimmy is prepping the rice. He's also prepping the carrots, and so the carrots we always cook the day of, which I think also that we need to start considering if we can just cook it the night before and then just have it ready in like Ziploc bags and things like that.
Hmm.
The thing is like we need to figure out what is most efficient without ruining the quality. There
Hmm.
are some things that like are just not, we don't need to do it, right? Like the day of, like it just doesn't make any sense. And then there are things that end up being shortcuts that ruin the quality. And then that those are non-negotiables.
Hmm.
At this point, we just don't know what those are yet. So we're sort of have to figure out what that is. And so we're going back and forth on it.
Hmm.
But and then once Jimmy is done with the carrots, then he will usually like sort of help if we need help with the eggs. Like he'll jump in. Like basically, there's like little side things that always has to happen with a kimbap.
Hmm.
At a certain point, though, he will jump onto chicken,
Hmm.
because his like main responsibility is the chicken. And then my main responsibility is the kimbap. It just there's a lot more prep that needs to go into kimbap.
Right.
But then the thing with the chicken is that this time around we underestimated how long he would need to fry the chicken. So like we were behind on the chicken. Thankfully the kimbap was on time, but the chicken was a little bit delayed because the eggs took forever.
Mm.
Jimmy, instead of being able to start on the chicken, needed to help us with the eggs, and so it delayed his whole timeline. Um, so bottom line is at the end we were scrambling. We did figure out that we could instead of individually tossing all of our chicken in like little pans, we can just take the whole chicken that we fried, put the sauce in it that's warmed, and then toss it and then serve it, and it's still pretty crispy. It's still pretty good.
Mm.
But like, yeah, at that point in time, like towards the end, it just becomes like I don't care who's eating it. Like we just have to get this out because at a certain point, it's like people would rather have a little bit messier, and it's not the food quality isn't down. It's just a little
Hmm.
bit messier
Hmm.
food versus having it arrive 45 minutes late,
Right.
right? Um, and then it was a hot day, so like we had somebody I think that didn't feel so good after eating one of the kimbaps, which
Mm.
we were like we need to. It's definitely a concern, but it's also like we made sure like the everybody else that had the same type of kimbap was okay, and
Hmm.
so it was always probably like a one-off for that person, but it's definitely something we need to consider because as the weather gets hotter, we actually can't like kimbap doesn't last very long.
Mm.
The ingredients that we use, we actually do use quite a bit of mayo-based things in our kimbap, which is just very prone to it going bad.
Right. Right.
So another just consideration for us there too is just like how do we transport things more efficiently
Mm.
without it? Like the moment it like we refrigerate it, it becomes a little bit tougher just because then all the meats get hard and like it's not great. So we just need to temperature control it somehow.
Mm. Wow. That's a lot of components. And I'm just curious, do you know how like the regular kimbap places do it? Because like for example, like Kimbap 천국, like how do they do it? Do you know if they prep it on the day of, or is it cold? Is it hot when they're making it? Do you know?
I have no idea how they run the cycle of their ingredients.
Hmm.
Imagine in my mind, there's no way that they prep everything the day of. Like that to me it makes no sense. Although I will say like the 시장, like 시장 kimbap,
Mm.
I do see them make things in like big vats and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm curious about like the temperature of these kimbaps. Like, is your ideal temperature like cold? At least the original version of your idea of the kimbap is cold, or is
no,
it
no, no, no.
like
Normally it's
like
like room
slightly?
temperature.
Room
Normally, it's like
temperature.
you make it as soon as it's done, and then
Yeah.
the inside protein is warm and like it's good,
Hmm.
fresh, right? So basically, as soon as we make it, like all the ingredients should be fresh, and you should be able to eat it ASAP. The
Hmm.
problem is because we have to transport these, and because the making of these actually takes so much time, because we have to
Hmm.
mass produce them. If we make them to order,
Uh-huh.
life is so much easier, right? Because like
Oh,
in order to
true.
make it,
Yeah,
but we
yeah,
have to mass produce these because we have a big catering order, right? So then
yeah.
it's not as simple as just being like, let me just roll up fresh for you real quick.
Yeah.
It's how do we most efficiently make 100 rolls in time?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And
Yeah.
so inevitably that first one that you make, our goal is to make that first one that you make the exact same quality as the last one you make. But the nature of food is that one will inevitably be prone, like time wise, to be going bad faster than the one that you make at the end.
Right. Right.
It's like a timer starts especially because there's so many ingredients in kimbap. Like when
Hmm.
once you merge all those things together, it's like the timer starts once you roll it.
Yeah. Makes sense. Wow. Yeah, no, I can't imagine how difficult and complex that'd be since yeah, for you, like especially right now, it's just drop off or slash pickup order. So it's like a bulk at once and
But I mean, that's what we have to figure out, right? Like we always like me and Jimmy didn't feel great yesterday. I like it was
hmm,
good. Like, we
hmm,
delivered on what we promised for the most part.
hmm,
It's still not good enough. And like the quality of the food, while people were very receptive and like most of them are our friends, so like they were very, they were very nice. It needs to be better. Like I think this time around the seasoning was a lot better, and so we felt a lot better about the food. Like we actually tasted a couple of the kimbaps, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. So like we were okay with that.
hmm,
But like operationally, if you're not set up well, the quality of your products goes down,
hmm,
which makes a lot of sense. And so we just have to make sure our operations are so good to the point
hmm.
where like we'll never have to give up anything on quality.
Yeah. Yeah. And I admire the fact that you're still always keeping mind of the quality first mindset.
Yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
food has to be good. I like we just and like I think that's the bottom line. If the food
Hmm.
doesn't taste good,
Hmm.
it's like we're screwed.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, no. And so these people who a friend of yours coming by to help out, are they more working on like the packaging section? How does it work for them?
Yeah. So at that point, so our friends usually at the beginning will help us with the eggs.
Mm.
Everybody that does eggs for these damn eggs.
Hmm. Hmm.
Later, what ends up happening is a lot of them will do like the work necessary to start prepping for the kimbap. So like one of them got ice for the one of the big pans that we use. We put ice underneath it now, and so then we put the ingredients in like containers on top of it, so it stays cool when even when it's in the hot
Oh.
kitchen.
Mm.
Uh, so like a few people will get that, not a few people, like one person will help get that ready. So like that
Hmm.
also means like the burdock and the radish that we buy, they just need to
Mm.
take it out of the packaging.
Yeah.
And then once they take it out of the packaging, then they have to drain some of the water out of it and then put that back in the container, label the container, and put that back in the fridge.
Hmm.
They do things like that. Somebody has to the carrots, we have to literally strain, like we have to squeeze the water out of the carrots because it's very watery.
Yeah.
So like somebody has to do that. Somebody has to cut the shishito peppers and the cucumbers,
Mm.
which goes into our kimbap. So like somebody does that. So it's just stuff like that. It's just like stuff that you know
Mm. Mm.
needs to get prepped. After that, what ends up happening is Jimmy will go in to start frying the chicken. So like at that point, our team will be off the grills because, well, I guess somebody will also cook the meat. Like in the same time when we are prepping the other ingredients, like we'll also be cooking the bulgogi and the spicy pork.
Mm.
Once the meats are ready, which that ends up taking a while, so like that usually in like collides. Somebody will be on the meats, right? So like we'll have a friend on the meats. So Jimmy will be on chicken, somebody will be on meats, and then I will start rolling the kimbap with like the ones that are pre-prepped, like tuna mix and the crab is already pre-prepped. And so then what my other friends will be doing is as soon as I roll them, I roll five at a time. So as soon as I roll them, I'll put them all in the cutting machine. Cutting machine is a non-negotiable, by the way. We very glad we made that investment because that is a unbelievable machine. But anyway, so once we put it through the machine, one friend will put it into the container, just like put it, and then one person will sort of make it to look pretty, and then put the little sesame seeds on top, and
Mm.
then put the lid on.
Mm,
We'll have two friends help out with the packaging. I will roll the kimbap. Jimmy will cook the chicken, and then some other person will cook the meat.
mm, mm.
That's how it's been working so far.
Wow. Oh yeah, funny thing is maybe it's just because I've been liking all those 82 Kimbap posts that I think I recently came across this Instagram reel about this Kimbap like they roll the thing for you. It's like the machine. I was like,
Yeah.
why is this popping up
There's
in
like a
my
lucky,
feed?
yeah, there's like an advertisement that like a friend keeps sending over to me as well that like it's like the kimbap like flatten the rice, it spreads the rice for you and then it also rolls it for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was like, dang, interesting.
But that stuff is like $10,000, so we are not
Oh,
into buying that.
jeez, yeah. No,
Also,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say also at a certain point because I can roll five at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is more consistent though. So
Hmm. Hmm. No, I think this is just a great example of what we mentioned like way before about how, you could all do all these prep, do all these like thinking ahead of time to make it perfect. But as we can see here, like when you're really in it and doing it, there's so many different components that, we can't be in, 100% be in control of. We need to adapt, make changes. And I think it's just really cool to see that. A lot of times we're always to kind of talk about theory, but like kind of your life right now, every day to day is really just, you know, in the woods and just, figuring it out, testing, changing, adapting, and improving. So
yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly right. I think there's certainly an emotional, I guess I can call it an emotional tax that comes with it. So usually what ends up
Mm-hmm.
happening is like yeah, as an example, yesterday, once we did all of the things, like Jimmy and I basically were like, all right, don't let's not talk to each other for a little bit and let
Yeah. Yeah.
everybody get enough sleep.
Yeah.
We still do, right? Like there's like little things that we have to like talk to each other about, but then like today we pretty much took off. I
Mm-hmm.
slept for quite the day. But we can't completely take our foot off the gas because essentially if we want to sell again next week, then we have to figure out what prep do we need to do again, like how do we
Mm-hmm.
do things better.
Mm-hmm.
So there's there are high highs and very low lows. I think we talked about this some other time, but
Mm-hmm.
man, and the roller coaster of emotions that you go through in the span of like 1 hour, right? Like when you know you're going to be late and you have to send out this mass email to everybody, but Jimmy's hotspot doesn't work for some reason. Mine doesn't work either.
Mm-hmm.
So like, we can't send the email out and we're trapped in traffic. It's like it's like you're so stressed out, like you're panicking, and at a certain point, you're just like, all right, it is what it is. Like we can't do anything about it. And then I ended up calling a friend that thankfully was already there, and so I was like, hey, like we're gonna be running a little bit late. So I think she ended up telling a couple people.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's just some things like that where you're just like you never anticipate that your hotspot's not gonna work in the middle of say Chicago traffic. It's like we thought it was gonna work, and like we'd be able to email everybody, but we couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's like we go and then people are lined up a little bit because we're late. And like just seeing that is also a very cool experience, right? Like because there are people that are waiting for you and your food, and like they've made the commitment to purchase your food and come to the pickup location
Mm-hmm.
just to try it. So it's like you go from a very low low to like a pretty good high for a little bit, ride that emotion out, and then you get real nervous again. You sort of, that anxiety kicks in of like, okay, now they've tried it. What do they think? Um, and then in the meantime, you can't really think too much about it because you have to go back to their shared kitchen and
Yeah.
clean. And
Yeah.
clean up ended up taking like another hour and a half. And so
Mm.
we extended our kitchen time even further. And um, so all in all, just like I think just a learning for us
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of things. But um, yeah. I will say financially too, you really have to spend a lot of money to make money, I think is what we're realizing. And
Mm.
just a lot of little costs that keep going out and
Yeah.
unforeseen events where like we ended up booking the kitchen pretty much for the whole day. And like we had originally anticipated just from 4 a.m. to 12, but like it ended up being 4 a.m. to 3 p.m. So,
Wow. Wow. Hmm. Wow.
but yeah, I mean, it was good. I mean, it was a very fun experience. Got to see a lot of friends again. But yeah, I mean it's tough because now it's back to the drawing board of how do we make things better and how do we continue to make the food better. At this point, I wanted to make like a new recipe and like I wanted to do like shrimp, like fried shrimp, like shrimp tempura, and I also wanted to do tonkatsu and like
Mm.
all that is off the table until we figure out like how do we do this to begin with.
hmm
And once we get this down,
Mm,
Then we'll start thinking about, okay, well, how do we do this and how do we add this one?
mm,
It's just like a nature of playing the scaling game, right? Because we are not at scale yet. So everything, and with Kimbap too, I think it's like until you reach like a point of real scale, everything is that much harder, right? To do something from 0 to 10 in Kimbap is basically the same amount of effort that takes for you to go from 0 to 20.
mm,
And so I think it's just on a grander scale, right? Now that we've done 90, okay, for us to probably do 120 is the same effort as 90, except for the eggs. Um, but we just have to figure out how to do that more efficiently. And like, if we sell 2 days in a row, it's probably easier because we have a lot of ingredients that were left over from yesterday. And like essentially we're either going to have to eat some of it or throw it away. And eating it is basically the same thing as throwing it away.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Hmm. Oh, what are some learnings about what are some pros and cons about doing this drop off model?
well, I mean, the pros are pretty clear because you know exactly your order. So you know the exact demand and you know how much you have to supply. So the
Hmm.
demand and supply is at a perfect one.
Hmm.
You also know what time you have to be there. So like from a operational, I guess from like a stability perspective, it's very stable for us.
Hmm.
The cons are in my opinion pretty numerous. And the biggest one is that it's not very accessible to people, meaning it's not accessible at a scale, right? If you're not on Instagram, you can't order.
Hmm.
If you don't know how to if you don't get to the form in time, you're not going to be able to order.
Hmm.
Um, you don't really reach the right demographics, I think, because like essentially a lot of our friends ordered, which we're very grateful for, but like you don't actually reach the public doing this kind of method unless it's like unless you can do it at such a scale that I think it makes a lot of sense, and like hopefully
Hmm.
we will, and like word of mouth will spread, and like people will continue to order from us.
Hmm.
Um, but also with pickups, what's also nice is like because you know exactly how much you have to make, you can sort of plan backwards and like you can accommodate your schedule for it. Um, there the pros are what I will say is the pros are big for us doing it. The cons are bigger for the consumer, like the consumer,
Hmm.
at least in our opinion so far, right? Like because they also have to make the effort to meet us at the pickup location, which in reality is basically the same if you go to a restaurant, but. Um, we just think the accessibility piece, like the whole point is it has to be accessible, and we're not making it that accessible. Um, so I think it's really just that. It's we basically get the advantage of we know the supply, we know the demand, we know the time, we know who's taking the orders. On the flip side, it's like it's I guess nicer for the consumer if like if you make it exclusive and like you made the cut and like you get it. It's a cool experience. I will also say though, this model is tough in terms of transportation because logistically, what ends up happening is Jimmy and I, unless we allot a lot of time into cleanup before we leave, like the food's just going to be sitting there, and then we're going to be cleaning up, and then we have to go to the site. And if we don't clean up all the way, then we have to come back and clean up the kitchen anyway. And so that's like a small piece of using a I guess that's like a shared kitchen problem,
Hmm.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
No.
if they did pick up, and I guess for this week we're considering a couple different things, but like if they did pick up at our shared kitchen, then it makes the life a lot easier because like we can literally we do first off we're not going to forget anything because everything's already at the shared kitchen, and like we can do cleanup while people are picking up their orders because we have our orders done
Hmm.
there separately. But again, now on the consumer's end, it's going to be a little bit more of a pain because they have to come out all the way to the shared kitchen, which is actually further away from downtown.
Hmm.
The only caveat to that is that this week is July 4th weekend and NASCAR is going on. And so the entirety of downtown is pretty much going to be blocked off. And so we just need to make sure that like we obviously can't do pickup anywhere near downtown because they're not going to be able to access it.
Yeah.
So like we might just try the shared kitchen out and see if people are willing to pick up there. Because
Hmm.
obviously next week we have the V at 5 coffee shops, and then after that is side practice coffee. So we have a couple pop-ups that are coming up.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, well, now I guess it's really important, I guess, moving forward because now it was the first time kind of introducing people to your food, the existence of 82 Kimbap, and now it's, I guess every day it's going to be that thought of how can we get reoccurring consumers of
Yeah.
the food. So I guess that would be like a huge like a portion of your brain right now then.
Yeah. And I will say like the demand piece is good because like our social media has done well,
Hmm.
and it's continuing to do well. That's always a good feeling when you know that like your social media at least is like your marketing is good.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we've had another reel that did pretty well. We're sort of figuring out that there are certain hooks and certain touches that end up working.
Yeah.
Similar to what we mentioned a couple weeks ago about what you said about like you try to use the same things that worked and lo and behold, we try something similar and it does work.
Hmm.
Um, so it just goes to show, I think we're learning on all different fronts. As long as you don't stop, right? I now understand. I read or I saw somewhere that most businesses and most founders of startups or whatever, they usually don't end up stopping or they don't give up because it's like they run out of money, they run out of energy, right? They
Yep.
run out of the steam to keep going, and
Yep.
it's definitely very easy to do that. It is. It's hard to keep the foot on the gas pedal at all times, and
Hmm.
if you don't do it, nothing happens. Literally nothing will happen if you don't do anything. And so
Hmm.
I think Jimmy and I especially have been feeling that recently. We're like we have to do everything, otherwise nothing will get done.
Hmm.
Um, so, but that's a part of something building. It's a part of building something, right? It's
Yeah.
like you get to reflect, and every time I talk to you, I get the chance to reflect a little bit.
Hmm.
Because when you're so in the weeds of everything, it's like all you care about is about taking on the next challenge and taking on the next problem that comes up. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, we've come a really long way in 3 months, and so um, I'm excited for what the next 3 months looks like, and hopefully we can continue to scale and continue to do things. And who knows where we'll be at in a year's time, and hopefully, we went to a Pingzu place today.
Hmm.
And like I would love to do a dessert concept at some point.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Michael can't Mike always needs dessert. I
I'm
remember.
saying desserts my favorite.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
Every meal, even if we're like just full, you always have the space for dessert. I remember.
Little sweet treat somewhere. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the same for me, by the way. And so I definitely think the next after Kimbap,
Hmm.
it's an after Kimbap. I don't know. Right now, I think Kimbap's gonna be my thing for the next few years. But
Hmm.
after that, hopefully we can do once things take off, then like
Hmm.
hopefully we can do like a dessert spot.
Yeah, let me know if you're in LA. I know a few bingsu places that are pretty popping here, so you could do some scoping.
Yeah, I will. I will. I think I
Yeah,
think Chicago will do very well with that. So.
yeah. Huh. Since I wasn't able to be there in person, can you help me kind of picture what it was like? Were people just coming in, picking up,
Yeah.
eating nearby, or were
No,
they
so
kind of just
yeah,
dispersing?
it was in like a little park that's like in downtown. It's a beautiful park. There was a lot
Hmm.
of people. There's just a lot of people there to begin with. Like it's like
Hmm.
the day is a beautiful day, which I couldn't have asked for a better day. So like
Hmm.
there was just a lot of people out and about, and we ended up taking shop in front of like there's like a little strip. It's like enclosed. The park is enclosed by a lot of buildings.
Hmm.
So among one of the buildings, there's like a little taco place and like Mariano's, which is like a grocery store, and the park is like in front of it. And so we ended up just parking the car on the street,
Uh-huh.
and then we had people basically just line up on the curb. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, and it was just like a line of probably about 10 to 15 people at the beginning, and then once that line disappeared, then like people would just come in sporadically, and like they'd be able to find us because like we had a big car, and like obviously me and Jimmy put our faces everywhere. So.
what
Um,
do you mean by put your face? Like stickers
like
or a
like
poster?
people know if they order on
Oh,
Instagram, like they know our faces.
yeah.
We were supposed to have a sign, but like our sign didn't come in time, and so we
Oh, dang.
oh, well, shoot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. I mean, everybody was very friendly. Like we got to talk to everybody for a little bit. Obviously, some
Okay.
old friends reconnected with some of them.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that was it. And then we ended up having we talked to one of the people on our team knew an influencer, and he reached out to them and just ask if they wanted just a few roles for free, just so they could try it, and then if they could post something about it, that'd be great. And
Hmm.
so we did that, and um, except we forgot that the influencer was not on our like actual list of people,
Hmm.
and so we forgot to tell them that the location had changed, the pickup location had changed. So I basically had to go with like our social media person, and we drove to the old pickup location, but it was closed because the roads are closed. but the pickleball courts where the pickup location was still open, so like people were still coming in and playing pickleball. So then I basically had to park like 4 or 5 blocks away, and like we had to like walk all the way to the pickleball courts, and like handed it to her, came back, and then I basically ended up going straight to the shared kitchen.
Wow. Wow. And how's that interaction like? Because since I'm a bit surrounded by a lot of influences here in LA, so it's kind of that some
Yeah,
people hate it, some people love it.
I
I don't
mean,
know. Like,
yeah,
what was the interaction like? Is it just like, oh yeah, give him some free food and they'll make a video for free, or how does that interaction
Yeah,
work?
I mean, it was just a very, I mean, first off, they were very friendly. I
Mm-hmm,
think we're sort of all in this, I mean, we're all basically the same people, right? It's like we're all, this is whatever. And so we
hmm
just, we just did a lot of small talk. We were just like, hey, like, it's great to see you. It's great to meet you. Like, here's the food. Um, it wasn't like a big logistical thing. Like,
Yeah,
we didn't pay them or anything.
yeah.
And I don't know if we'll ever pay influencers because at this point, like, our marketing is good enough where like we're literally doing some things that we don't need too much,
hmm
we think. Um, and so we were just like, we'll give it to you for free. If you want to make a post about it, if you want to make a review video about it, go ahead. We don't obviously tell them, what to post or anything. So it's very low key. It's our very first one that we've done. So like it's very low key.
hmm
And she was very friendly. She wanted to know a lot more about like the background and like why we started to do this. And um, she was very eager to help and or like be supportive of what we're trying to do. It was very friendly, I will say. And also we have mutual friends. Like and I think that's
Oh,
what,
okay, okay.
yeah, because like everybody basically knows everybody. So like we had some mutual friends, and so we talked about that. And so then because you have mutual friends, there's like a level of sort of respect that I think naturally comes with that.
Hmm. Was there any kimbap that was kept being mentioned as like their people's favorite?
Crab is really popular.
Oh,
Crab is, and it's funny because crab's my favorite. And
oh, okay.
I think crab by far is also because it's like the least typical, I think, out of the ones that we have.
Huh.
Like bulgogi and spicy pork is like you know what to expect.
Uh-huh.
Crab is not something that you really expect because it's basically like it's like California roll kind of, right? Except the crab is tossed with cabbage and with mayo,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of wasabi. And so the
Hmm.
taste itself is really good. It's also very moist, like it's not dry at all. And so when you eat the
Ah.
kimbap, it's very naturally just it's good. And the crab itself is pretty sweet. It's
Mm-hmm.
imitation crab, obviously. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's very well balanced. And it's
Mm-hmm.
also nice because like when you bite down into it, like something like Spam is tough because if you don't bite into the Spam, it doesn't taste like much. And then once you bite down the Spam, it's too salty. The crab is like a nice balance because the texture is all pretty consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So like you get basically the same flavor and the texture in every bite, which is really good. But crab was probably the one that where people are like, wow, this is really good. Spicy pork and bulgogi were good too, but I don't think it's anything like groundbreaking. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, we ended up giving that influencer just like one bulgogi, which I was a little upset because I was like, I should have probably given her like crab because I really like the crab.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at a certain point, it's like we tried our best. Like we just couldn't, we didn't have the capacity to like make a whole lot more.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's at a certain point, we also just forgot about it, right? So
Hmm. I think that's
we're learning,
interesting.
right? It's just yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I mean, I'm sure, with your kind of intuition and love for food, to say that the crab's your favorite, I think that's really cool. I'm also thinking that like these marinated meats. I mean, even if we see in like Korean cuisine, like we always say, oh, like eat it when it's hot, like especially like marinated beef or meat like that. So. Yeah, no, it's really interesting. Maybe it's because people, really like the texture being soft, like
Yeah.
tamago, like people love tamago.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really cool because since for you, you also are sensitive with time
Yeah.
with your food. So yeah, it's interesting to see that like the crab one is people's favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
been
anyway, are you like tracking feedback of the food by any chance?
yeah, so like this is a big thing. Originally we were gonna put a QR code on our actual sticker itself,
Yeah.
but we ended up realizing that in order to put a QR code, it's a pain because if you ever have to change the QR code, you can't because we're mass producing these stickers. What we were gonna do instead was like make a form. In hindsight, what we should have done, like well, in hindsight, what we should have done is drafted up a feedback form, an anonymous one, and then send it out because we ended up sending a thank you email to everybody that ordered yesterday. We're just
Hmm.
like, thank you so much. We apologize for being late. We forgot the pickled radish, but like, thanks for being patient. And like, you were going to do a lot of things in the summer. So like, look out for us. I realized we should have done a feedback form and just put it on there.
Mm.
We just ask for feedback. We're just like, if you have any thoughts, like feel free to DM us or just respond to this email.
Yep.
Which I mean, now that I think about it, it's like, why would anybody do that if it's not anonymous? So,
If you could get only one feedback, like only one information, what would that be? What would you want to know?
oh, the food, like how good is the food? Like, is the food good?
So are you saying like, for example, if you were to create a form and whatever, and but the form only allows one question, what would that question be, and how would you structure the options?
Yeah, I mean that's tough.
Just one question.
Is it like can I do? Is it have to be like multiple choice or can it be free response?
I would say multiple choice because I do want to see what you come up with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's like the typical like consulting type questions.
Yeah, yeah, throw it out. What
Measure.
is
I mean, because you could measure like NPS, which is
okay?
like how much would you promote it to other
Yeah,
people?
yeah, yeah.
I guess you could also do like what are your odds? What are the odds that you would reorder this role?
Hmm.
Um, if I had to do multiple choice, it'd probably be that. Like what how likely would you be to reorder this role or like reorder from us again?
Okay. Great. No, I think that's really important, and you probably know better at this, but hmm. So are you okay with not being able to get, for example, if let's just say same thing, one scenario, you ask that question of would you reorder? Is it okay that you're it's representing all the roles, not like only the crab, not only the
Yeah.
marinade, because you
I
can't
mean,
differentiate it?
this is assuming I only get one question. Then
Oh,
yeah, I mean, if it's one question, then I wouldn't. The end of the day, if they reorder because of crab, then that's great. If they reorder because of spicy pork, that's great. All I care is that they reorder
okay, cool. No,
because the purpose of the business is like we need reoccurring customers.
hmm. I was wondering if you wanted to use the Instagram polls. It's just one click. It's just, would you reorder, yes or no? And the good thing about that is after you click, you see the results right away. So for
Yeah.
example, yeah, so like if I say yes, I'll see how many people say yes. If it's like, oh, I'll think about it, and let's just say you have yes or no. At least it shows that like when people are voting and it's call to action. And I think it's also another great way to, use that to promote again. You can be like capture that
Yeah.
and be like, hey, like, 95% of people are willing to reorder. And thank you so
Yeah.
much for enjoying our food. And I think that's another promotional. And
Yeah.
also, hopefully that helps out with you as well.
Yeah, if we could reach just the people that pre-ordered with us on Instagram, like we would.
Hmm.
The only issue is like we would need the feedback from the 40 people that ordered from us. And
Hmm.
like at this point we've spammed them with enough emails.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we didn't want to send another email after the thank you being like, here's a feedback form.
Hmm.
Um, but I think we definitely do need a feedback form, so we're gonna make one. And moving forward, we'll definitely capture a lot of the feedback.
Hmm.
Because the whole point and like the whole point for us doing this is to capture feedback, right? It's like we have
Yeah.
to make the food better, we have to make this experience better. Obviously, a pickup thing is a little bit more is a little bit less important right now because we're not going to continue to do that except for probably this one more week coming up. But
Hmm.
but yeah,
No, no, exciting stuff. And I think it's definitely just fun to see that. Yeah, I think at least for me, since I'm more of an outsider, being able to observe your journey. I think it's really inspiring to see that you're kind of, uh, I guess you're following the words you speak. You like some of the things you discuss or things that you ponder about. I guess next week when we meet, you've made some actions or improvements on that. So I think that's always something really interesting and inspiring to see. I think as people get older, um, we say a lot of things, but we don't really act.
yeah,
And I think one of the privilege of doing something for yourself is being able to act on things and making it a reality. And of course, there's probably a lot of ups and downs, as you mentioned, but I think that journey hopefully is an enjoyable one as overall we move forward. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a fulfilling more than the other jobs that I've had. Definitely on the right track. We just have to. There's just a lot to figure out.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, it's always a big week. And I mean there's more great weeks to come. So yeah, great I mean congrats to you.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, we'll look forward to next week as well.
Sounds good, brother. See you next week.
Later.